Some of these travelers returning from the affected areas are from right here in Washington, Marysville, Olympia. They arrived on U.S. soil overnight on 2 chartered flights, landing at one of 2 Air Force bases where they're going to remain for an additional 14-day quarantine period. Now, the people have been trapped on the Diamond Princess cruise ship since February 5th after the COVID-19 outbreak began. On that ship, more than 450 COVID-19 infections, and today the Japanese government announcing 99 more. The U.S. government chose to extract all Americans from that ship because they were at a high risk for exposure to the virus. Now the State Department has confirmed 14 of those evacuees had the virus, but were allowed to board the flight because they didn't have symptoms, although they're being isolated from other passengers. While the virus is highly contagious, some health officials are trying to put it into perspective.
Are seeing a lot of cases, but if the fatality rate decreases, at the end of the day, it may end up just looking like a very severe flu season.
Meanwhile, in Cambodia, officials are scrambling to track down more than 1,000 passengers on a Holland America cruise ship released just last week. That's because an American who was on the ship tested positive after arriving in Malaysia. But the very next day, doctors do want to do more tests. Now, interesting to note, that ship, which is owned by Seattle-based Holland America, had been at sea for 2 weeks after 5 countries refused to allow it to dock for fear of the coronavirus. Now, cruise ships spreading the disease around Asia is a big concern, and several other ships are being denied access to ports around the area. Reporting live from the newsroom, Amity Idrisi, back to you in studio.